Well, good morning, Liberal Kansas, Southwest Kansas, the Oklahoma Panhandle, and all other places where you tune in to get your news and views from the middle of America. This are all the later in times on Wednesday, November 26, 2025, Pancake Eve. I'm sorry, Thanksgiving Eve.
I wish. It's always pancake.
Ben is now the pancake guy. When I see Ben, I think pancakes.
That's right.
Joined me on the far side is always Jim Rice, and special guest this morning, Ben Scantlin, the director of the movie that's actually making it worldwide now, that is highlighting Pancake Day. So Ben, thanks for coming in.
Of course. Thank you guys so much for having me, and thank you for the continued support. I really appreciate it. You guys have always have open arms towards me and as my crazy endeavors and this Pancake Day project. You guys have been with us from day one, and we really appreciate it. So thank you for having me on.
Well, you're kind of a native, so, you know.
That's absolutely right.
You are, and
18 years strong right here in
There you
Liberal,
go.
Kansas.
getting to grow up here and make it in Hollywood and work for these movie companies, and then making all those connections, and then not forgetting your hometown and coming back and doing something on that. So we're going to talk about some of the travels you've done, but before we do that, let's catch everybody up a little bit on, what you did. Is it now 2 years ago, or was it last year?
It was 2 years ago. So it was the 75th anniversary. We came out and filmed for 4 days and captured about 50 hours of footage, put the whole thing together and made a 20-minute short film about Pancake Day and this amazing tradition that we've had going on for the year that I caught it, 75 years. So 2 years ago, it took us 1 year to edit that 50 hours down to 20 minutes, which was unbelievable. And then we had the world premiere right here in Liberal, Kansas, and showed it to the community first and foremost. Then we started getting it out on the film festival route. And that's kind of where we are right now. We're about 9 months in now. It's crazy to think that, but we're about 3/4 of the way through.
And, Jim and I both got to go to the premiere here at the Southgate 6 and showed a couple of different versions, because you had a version at that time
Yes.
that was going to be making the rounds, but you gave us a special version for some of us hometown people to get to see that. And, just a moment where just our community pride. I think anyone who has any connection to Liberal will see that and just beam with pride of whether you put that together and highlighted that. I was really impressed with the quality of it, because the sound, the video quality, obviously you have the connections and the know-how to do that upright. Putting all those pieces together, how did you pull that off?
Well, luckily I'm surrounded by very talented people. Let's get that first and foremost. That was the greatest gift, was when I reached out to some friends in Los Angeles that I've known for 15, 20 years, that I've worked with but are also really close friends, and said, we have this amazing opportunity to go out to my hometown to film this little event called Pancake Day. They were on board as soon as I said Pancake Day. And I loved it, because they're like, you had us at 4 days of eating pancakes, first and foremost. We don't really care. Anything else happens is all icing on the cake. And they came out, and we had an unbelievable time filming this. And the crew that we brought out have worked on huge feature films. They've worked on national commercials. Matter of fact, one of our producers just got back from Kansas City. He filmed for like 4 days up there, a big, huge commercial. So I had these extremely talented people that came out and surrounded us, and the footage that we ended up capturing from really every single person that had a camera in their hands, whether those were the professionals from LA or the production assistants that we hired here in Liberal, because we put out a notice saying, hey, if you want to come out and be part of the film, we'd love to hear from you. So we did, and we put cameras in their hands, and the footage that you see on the big screen now is shot from not only my nephew or my niece, but also friends of family here in Liberal, and then also professional photographers from Los Angeles. And it was a pretty incredible experience.
And one thing, as Hollywood has evolved over the years, there are times when productions are, set cameras on rollers, reels, whatever, but you start to see this more realistic. I think it's because people have cameras in their hands, phones. People now, when you go watch a movie, they're doing some handheld stuff in movies, and it gives it more that real feel.
Absolutely, especially when you're doing a documentary. You want to be there, close with the community, and getting to know people and getting the feedback. And I found that that really helped bring a lot of heart to the project.
Drones.
Oh,
You had drones going in the activity center as they were working on that world record. You had drones going in there.
Drones flying all over Liberal, and people were questioning what's going on. I'm like, we're trying to make a movie here. That's it. Yeah.
Not only that, you found some historic footage. I'm like, where'd these videos even come from?
Oh, I know. That was fascinating, actually. Really. I had no idea that this footage existed. So as we're starting to put this together and we're talking about the history, I'm like, I wonder what's out there. So you start YouTubing these videos, and you start finding footage all the way back from the very first race that we ever had here that I had no idea existed, and then footage from England as well that went back even further. And so you find it and you're like, this is incredible footage, but then you have to figure out how to license it and how to reach out to the people and make sure that it's cleared to be able to be in the film. And that was a whole nother journey that I was able, because of my experience of 15, 20 years in Hollywood, I kind of knew the right places to reach out to. And luckily got the conversation started, and everyone that owned the footage was so supportive of it. They loved it, and they're like, here, have it as it goes out on film festival route. Use the footage in whatever direction you want, and it really, really brought the film together.
And you were able to get actual footage of that, but I like how you even showed through AI, CGI, whatever you were using to show like that first lady in Olney, leaving her stove and headed to the church.
Absolutely. That's the only footage I didn't find is the original woman in the 1500s flipping those pancakes. So, you always have in your mind what that would look like. And it was a blast bringing that together with AI, because I was really able to paint every single step along the way of her, flipping the pancakes, making the pancakes, hearing the bells go off, and then sprinting out the door and running with it. And it was great, and we recreated the scene. So we actually shot it, and then we incorporated AI on top of it. So you have a little bit of live action mixed in with AI, which I geek out at. The fact that we were able to fully explore all of that during this film was a fantastic experience.
I love how you created RJ Leet, the guy who made the phone call over to their folks, and I only saw him in his older days. And so showing him this real dapper guy in his den, and he's on the phone, and you want to let us race with you and that kind of thing. I love how you gave that life.
And just picture, he's reading the Time magazine, reading about this, like, I need to call England, and he just picks up the phone and calls it from his den, smoking jacket on, and really played it up. I mean, it was a little creative freedom, but I thought it was such a cool thing what RJ did, and it was for the JCs and the whole history behind it. And doing this project, I learned so much more about the history and how it all got started, and just made me love it even more.
Yeah, well, one of the things that we talked about before, I didn't know this, but there was a diner, I guess, over on 2nd Street where the JCs met back then. And that's where they came up with the idea, over there.
Yeah,
and I was thinking, that's, I didn't know where. I knew that the JCs were the ones with R.J. Layton, those guys came up with that. But that was right over here on 2nd Street.
Yeah, just around the corner from here. Yeah, I had no idea, too. And that was what was so cool about the project as well, is as you would talk to people, and everyone was so generous with their stories. I put out, hey, if you have anything you want to talk about, please reach out to me. And I got so many emails and had so many cool conversations. And each time I come back, even last night, people were telling me their Pancake Day story. And to hear about that, you're right, where they originated the idea was just right around the corner, and saying, hey, we need to figure out a way to get the JCs a little bit of money, some ideas. Let's start this pancake race.
Yeah, I mean,
awesome.
It's a fundraiser idea, and look what it's become. And you talk about stories. Everyone's got theirs. I've got I should have brought it in, my little 2nd place plaque for running the men's pacer race one year, and losing my pancakes afterward because I didn't practice for that the way I should have.
Yeah,
I
a lot
lost
longer than you expect.
I lost to Troy Neville. I'm fine with that. He was a.
If you're gonna lose, that's the right guy to lose to.
Yeah,
exactly.
His knee came up to my hip, so I mean, I can live with it. But growing up and watching it, and of course, my kids when they were little running in it. When you were a kid, did you do the?
Absolutely. Yeah, I was out there as a young kid in the flipping contests, and that's what's wonderful is that you do get started very young, and so it's part of your tradition here and part of what you do every year. And yeah, I was the same way. Sure wasn't fast, but I remember running it. And then when I was out here to do the film, I got convinced to run it as well, the men's pacer race, and I hadn't stretched, I hadn't ran in probably 2 years, and I got up there and thought, oh, it's 400 meters. I can knock this thing out. And I think I was sore for 4 months. Still, my back's not the same, so it was well worth it though. But you don't realize how tough that race really is. And these women that knock it out and kill it, it's so impressive.
Well, I'm sure you ran track or participated in track or something like that in high school, and a 400 wasn't my thing. I was a 100, 200 short
Sprinter.
Yeah. So I didn't know how to run it. So when I took off like a sprint, And yeah, I was in front for a while.
The first half.
Yeah. And when I turned the corner to come down Lincoln, that's when Troy was right on my shoulder, and I'm thinking, okay, I'm just going to pace it out with this guy. Okay, I guess I'm not. Because my body was doing what it could do. I was on autopilot the rest of the way.
Yeah.
It was just going to do what it's going to do. So I had no idea how to run a 400. But I stayed in second. I got my little plaque, and back then the Shoppers Weekly was over on the corner of 3rd Street, and I was starting to feel it. And I was like, I got to get it. We
Let it go tuck away.
Well, I needed to lose my pancakes, but did that.
I don't blame you. I know that's a rough race.
You wouldn't think it, but I'm telling you, you go all out on a 400, you will.
Yeah, it gets you. Even if you're in shape, it gets you. So
Yeah.
I get it.
And but to have taken this thing globally now, and so maybe walk us through. You debuted it here, and then where did you go after that?
Yeah, so then we started submitting it to film festivals, and it was really amazing because one of the very first film festivals we submitted to was a film festival that takes place in Los Angeles, right on Hollywood Boulevard, at the most legendary movie theater in the world called the Chinese Man Theater, which to me is just unbelievable that our film got to screen in that location, and that it was on the big screen on Hollywood Boulevard, and it was Liberal, Kansas up there. And that was the very first film festival that we got into. I'm getting chills even thinking about it because that was like one of my lifetime dreams, was to have a movie on that screen, and to have it be my hometown on there was just amazing. So that started the festival, and really everything after that I was like is all extra for me. And luckily right after that, we started going out to more, and we got word that the Seoul Film Festival in Korea wanted to screen the film. And I had submitted to this festival that I'd known about for decades because it was a food/film festival. And there's not a lot of those out in the world, so I figured this is our chance to go to Seoul. And we submitted it, and it was, what I had found out was there was 1,200 films that got submitted and only 10 got selected. And I couldn't believe it, and we were representing the United States, so Flipping Pancake Day was in Seoul Korea Film Festival, and we were representing it with Pancake Day, and I was like, this is unbelievable. They said, we want to show it. It's going to be in 2 weeks. And so we were like, are we going to make this happen somehow, some way? So my wife and I talked it out, and we figured it out, and we went to Seoul, Korea to do this, and it was an incredible experience, to say the least.
And so we'll talk about what you saw over there, but I've already been asked, do they do pancakes in Korea? So what?
Oh, they do pancakes. Oh, for sure. But it's a whole different style of pancakes. Matter of fact, we went out with a friend connected us with the local there, and we went out, and they're like, we're having pancakes tonight. I'm like, okay, great. Pancakes for dinner. I'll have that anytime. Well, it was Korean style pancakes. So this had beef in it. It had chicken. It had all these other things, and was the furthest thing away from a sweet pancake I've ever had. And he's like, don't you love these pancakes? I'm like, these are amazing, but a little different than what we have in Southwest Kansas. And he was confused about how we serve ours, but it was part of the experience, because every single step along the way, people kept asking, hey, would you like some pancakes? And I never knew what I was going to get. And each one was one different than the next, but really thick and like deep fried, and really good though. Really, really good.
Yeah, and we talked a little bit of that because when I was in high school, the band went to Only, and their pancakes were more like crepes, and they put lemon juice and that.
Yeah, really thin, right?
Yeah. So everyone, but the concept of a pancake is you're seeing that globally?
Yes. Yeah, and that's what's fascinating, is that they were so extremely interested in our pancakes and how we make them and what we put on top of them. So each person that kind of pulled me aside at the festival and started talking about pancakes, they're like, well, how do you make yours, and how do you like it? And I literally had to show videos of how the pancakes were. So then when the film actually screened, which was beautiful. It was against the backdrop of an ocean, and there's a huge screen, and everybody came out, and it was a completely packed house. And I was a little nervous because obviously it was all going to be translated in Korean. So they did subtitles, and I was like, well, is the humor that we put in this film going to translate to people in the audience? And we're sitting there, and the movie starts coming up, and there's all the Korean subtitles. And from the very first point, where I sometimes hoped that the crowd would laugh a little, they started laughing. Then they started cheering, and they started getting emotional. And by the end, they're all, rooting for us and clapping and absolutely loving the film. And it was incredible to see it translate over to a whole nother part of the world, kind of get what we're going with it. And they asked us to do a Q&A afterwards, so I went up there, and they said it was going to be about a 5-minute Q&A is what they were asking. And 30 minutes later, I get off stage. They just kept asking just unique questions. And what was kind of funny is I decided to invite everybody in the crowd back to Liberal for the event. And the translator that I'm speaking with, she's like, "Are you sure you want to invite everybody back?" I'm like, "Absolutely, everyone's welcome." Then I went one step further, and I said, "Actually, everyone's got a place to stay. You come out to Liberal, we'll find you a place to stay." So I'm asking the audience and all of you, if you got a place to stay, we might have an influx of Koreans coming in for the event, and I think it would be an absolute blast.
So when you say, was it subtitled? Was it dubbed over? Or
So it was subtitled. It was all in English language, but they had all the Korean translation across everything. So any name that came up was translated, and any little graphic that would come up was translated. And I had nothing to do with that. They just told me to send them the files. So, being the geeky filmmaker that I am, I wanted to make sure it sounded right and looked right. And I was very nervous, but as soon as it started playing and I saw all of the subtitles, I knew it was going to be great.
Well, and I love the music and everything you picked out for the film, because it just gives a different perspective of the film. I believe soundtracks are key. I love John Williams. Jaws isn't Jaws without that sound effect.
Of course.
Darth Vader's not Darth Vader. Indiana Jones, Superman, you go down the list. And so as I'm thinking, okay, what's this going to sound like? How do you put a soundtrack to Pancake Day? And you pulled it off.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that. That's actually one of the most exciting things I do in filmmaking, is the music aspect. And luckily I've learned from some incredible mentors that taught me about music and how you kind of place it and go against genre. And it was like one of the hardest things I had to decide for this film was, what is it going to be? And it needed to be timeless, first and foremost, because our tradition is timeless. Yeah. So I went with horns, and I wanted it to have a Spanish matador style vibe where it like really gets us going. And I found a couple pieces, and it started coming together. And you never know until you hit play in the edit and you throw the music underneath it to see if it's going to work. Yeah. And it started from the very beginning. I'm like, okay, I have the opening song. I know what's going to happen. Then I found the song for the race, and I'm like, okay, we can just fill everything else in from there and let that kind of set the vibe for it. And I appreciate you saying that, because that's like one of the more proud elements that I have in the film is the music.
It is. It's great. And when you're putting your film in South Korea, and it's about food and culture, right? Is that what it was?
That's exactly right.
And so what were some of the other things you saw? What were some of the other entries or some of that? How did yours and this story of Liberal compare with, because everyone's got a story.
Yes.
When you got to see some of these around the world stories, how did we compare?
It was fascinating, because they were each from different countries. So they had 10 different countries represented, and each one was more intriguing than the next. Some of them were fully animated. Most of them actually were pretty heavier pieces, that had a little bit of maybe messaging to it and stories, which I always knew going into festivals that if you're making a short documentary, most people are going to make documentaries about a message of some sort. So when Flipping Pancake Day comes on, it's a really nice breath of fresh air, because it's a charming, heartfelt, kind of funny piece. And in comparison to all of the other films, it stood out because it was about this town and about this tradition. And I think people really appreciated that. But there were, every single film that we watched, though, one was better than the next. It was really cool. And some of them were like 3 minutes long. Some of them were 25 minutes long. Ours is 18 minutes long. So it was really cool to see all the different cultures and what stories they wanted to tell, and meet some of the other filmmakers as well from around the world, which was really fascinating.
Yeah, and that you were the only American, right?
That's right.
So you represented, just like Pancake Day, you represented America.
USA, absolutely. Yeah,
Yeah,
it was great.
This is our day, right? But we don't think of it as just our day. We think that we're representing the United States of America in this international race.
Yes.
And there's our cousins to the Northeast, and so you get to go over and show this. What are some of the things that you guys talk about when you get with other filmmakers? What's the topic of discussion?
Well, a lot of it gets into just logistics, like how did you pull it off? How much footage did you shoot? Like, how did you get access? Where did you find these people? You know, and most of them don't realize that I'm from the town that is about flipping Pancake Day. So they ask, well, where did you find Liberal? I'm like, well, I grew up in Liberal. This is my soul here that I'm putting on screen, and luckily that comes through. They're like, well, the first thing we see is a lot of heart in this film. I'm like, well, I appreciate that, because it is. It's what I grew up doing, and I know this world so well. And so we'll talk about the logistics and possible collaborations as well, which is really cool. So met a filmmaker. She was from Spain. She makes these amazing documentaries about food and chefs. And we started talking, and we could potentially do another project together. And you just kind of hang out and celebrate that you actually completed a film, which is not easy, no matter which way you look at it. So it's always nice to celebrate it.
Yeah, and you know, when I get around other newspaper people, we talk about, you know, certain things. Filmmakers get together and talk about certain things. And what are some things maybe you've picked up? Have you, you know, when you talk with other people, I'm sure like, hey, next time I'm working on something, you get some of that?
Definitely, and a lot of it's like how you get to know your subject in documentaries, so what questions you ask, and it's really cool to hear guidance from that side of things. It's always, when you interview somebody, it's always about the questions, right? And you start learning more about that, and then the cinematography that looks beautiful on some of these films, you're like, well, what camera did you use, and what lens did you use? And I have a whole notepad of just full advice on, ooh, if I do it again, maybe I can use this camera from this angle and this one over here, and your mind never kind of stops thinking about how you can make it a little bit better.
Yeah, I watch a lot of YouTube bloggers, mostly around Disney, but these guys go in and they do the parks all the time.
Yeah.
And I'm always wondering, what camera did you use? How are you getting that, picking up that sound, you know, and you know, just what's the ins and outs of that?
Totally.
And, you
And
know,
the software is only getting better, so you can start making better graphics, and it just starts getting more professional, easier, which
yeah.
is nice.
When you sent out your release on going to South Korea, I was like, man, that is a cool poster. I mean, when I saw that, the quality of that and zoomed in on it, and I'm like, man, and all the little details of it, and that she's wearing red shoes.
Always.
You know,
Always.
hey.
Yeah, it's a little touch.
Yeah, yeah, like, oh, he knows what he's doing.
Yeah.
He's got this thing hooked.
Absolutely. The people that know, for sure. And
Yeah.
it's interesting that you say that, because I brought you a little gift as support. You guys are always amazing to me. I love that poster as well, but I thought you should probably have one for your own office as well. So we had one printed for you.
Well, that's great.
And this was the Flipping Pancake Day for South Korea. It's in Korean, and we just got a lot of positive feedback on this one, and I just thought it turned out really great, and I wanted you to have that as a little gift from us to say thank you for everything that you do, and
Well, I appreciate it.
for always having us on here and supporting what I do. It's really,
got a
really
spot
awesome.
for that for sure. And yeah, I love it that it's in Korean. It's got your little 9.
My Imagination 9 logo.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you know how it looks kind of like digitized, coming down to her running like that. I mean, when I saw that, I told Ben, I said, "Oh, I gotta have something like that. I
Absolutely.
need that." I said, "That's gonna be. I'm gonna get that on my screen on my computer." But
Thank you.
No, I love that, and the syrup dripping down from the top. I mean, we used to own the theater for a few years, and I always love seeing the posters come in, and
Me too.
I have a bunch of them. My favorites that I was able to keep through that run at the house.
Nice.
Some of them had to
Yeah.
pay for it because Disney, you got to send them back.
Yeah,
I
oh,
said,
yes, you do.
We're just going to pay it. I'm keeping them.
Keep 'em.
I got cars, but no. When I
right.
saw this one, I'm like, that's awesome.
Well,
That
thank
is a
you.
cool poster, and
Yeah, it came together, and you got the kind of the Wizard of Oz color tone to it with the red slippers.
yeah, the red shoes.
Yeah.
I'll let Jim look at that.
Absolutely.
which
I
is just
love
funny.
your-
That's Flipping Pancake Day, and I was like, I hope that translates
That's
right.
what it
And
looks like.
Yeah, yeah.
luckily, I have a good friend that's Korean, and she
Yep.
approved it, so she was like, no, it looks good.
So I look at things, maybe most people don't, but like your Imagination 9, you know, if you go watch a Sony film or anything like that, or even Star Trek had Bad Robot
Yes.
participated a
Yeah,
lot, and
yeah.
you see the Bad Robot little thing that comes up at the beginning, or Amblin Studio. There's a lot of other hands that go into these films, but sometimes you get to see that little piece at the beginning.
Yeah.
And so your Imagination 9, I even, you know, at the beginning of your film, I'm like, that is top notch. You know, that's as good as any of these others. You know, who doesn't know the Lion for an MGM film?
Absolutely.
You know, and
You know you're getting into something good when you hear that line coming on.
yeah, and Disney, when the castle comes on and you're coming up to the Disney castle, you know
Yeah.
that says something.
Yeah.
And I'm like, that Imagination 9, you're going to see that around because this
Thank
guy's
you.
doing it right, and he's
really
going to get a
appreciate
lot
that.
of good things going. And I think that that's going to be a really awesome lead in as you continue through your career.
Thank you. I hope so too.
I mean, a lot of people have asked, you know, where do I download it? When can I get it? I know it has to wait until it makes the round. So do you have a
Yes.
time frame?
Yeah, so I'm thinking probably around late March. We should be off of the film festival route because we did the one in Los Angeles, we did the one in Seoul, Korea, then we had another screening in Ojai, California just a couple weeks ago, which was again an amazing experience. Actually, our executive producers, Nick and Lisa Hatcher, came out from Liberal, got to experience the whole film festival situation, which is just fun. You just go and hang out and watch movies and have a good time in a beautiful city. So we did that. We have a few more potential festivals that we can do between now and March. And then after that, we will start distributing it. So whether it'll be online first or it'll be on a plane, which I'm excited to announce that there are some major airline carriers that would like to have this movie on their airline. So maybe you'll be able to see it on an airline first before you'll even be able to stream it. So we'll kind of figure out the best way to distribute it. But I would say March, April, May, we'll have something to where we can have it for all the community to watch. It'll definitely be playing during Pancake Day. So anyone that's here in the Southwest Kansas area, there's going to be 3 screenings a day for, I think, 3 days leading up to Pancake Day. So if you get an opportunity to go down to Mitchell Theaters, and they've been so supportive as well and have been so gracious to say, hey, we want to show this again to the community. So you'll have a chance to see it on the big screen, which is always the right way to see it.
Well, and I know you know about movies, so I'm not going to tell you anything new, but I'll tell you this. If you get poster versions, you get some T-shirts or shirts, people will buy that. They will. I mean, I'd love to have a Flippin' Pancakes, you know, have my shirt and that kind of thing.
That's
and,
coming up then.
yeah,
Absolutely. We'll
you-
get on that.
You get that, I'm telling you, you can help fund some of this stuff because, I mean, the logoing, the quality of what you're doing, that will look awesome on a shirt.
You know what? You're right. I
know.
think we should get one of those going.
And you know, people will buy it. And you put that online, say, you know, what, they can't get the film yet, get the material, come on Pancake Day and watch the film here locally.
Yes.
And, you know, it's kind of a different thing in this day and age. Everything now is just so overly produced, but this is exclusivity. And, you know, I know that there's a hunger for it here in this area. And so, you know, get to come out and watch it again and see that. But, yeah, I'd say get the posters, get the shirts. You'll do just fine.
Well, I really appreciate that. And I always appreciate the support of the community, and I love being able to show it. So I want to be able to get it out to people as soon as possible. It's just working in the entertainment industry as long as I have, there's a rollout that's kind of nice that a lot of these film festivals, they won't even accept it if it's been publicly posted.
Yeah.
So hands are a little bit tied on that. But as soon as that opens up and it's available to be out there, I want as many people to see it as possible. I'm super proud of it, and we've been getting such a good response from whether it's a crowd in Los Angeles or a crowd in Korea to a crowd in the mountains in California. It's getting really positive response, and it just makes me feel so good because so many of us put our heart into this thing, and it takes a village to make, and it's so nice to be able to get a little payoff from it.
And after Korea, there was another one that came up right after that, right?
Yeah, that was the Ojai.
The Ojai.
Ojai Film Festival, which is really cool because it's more of a prestigious, a lot of the entertainment industry comes up and watches it, and you have filmmakers from all over the world that are there, and it's in this beautiful community about an hour and a half north of Los Angeles, and it was an absolute blast because every film festival kind of has its own style and their vibe. So the films that were programmed with us were really unique and was such a cool little block. So it was about 2 hours of films, and ours was 20 minutes in there. And again, ours was the lightest piece and the funniest piece, and people really appreciated that. And again, we had people cheering and laughing, and had a great group of people that came up from Los Angeles to watch it. So it was a blast.
So this one, you know, is kind of playing through its cycle, getting close to the end. What have you been thinking about? What's something on the burner? I'm sure you've seen some other things.
That's what's kind of cool is once you taste this, people start bringing really interesting ideas. So I have a whole list of potential things to move into. One also being making a feature version of Flipping Pancake Day, because the story is only getting better and better, not only about our town and the tradition, but there's some aspects that are within our film that are starting to take shape, that could have a longer story. So it could potentially be a feature version of Flipping Pancake Day, or some other fun projects that, you know, come our way.
Well, if you
goes.
only used about 15, 20 minutes out of, you know, the 50 hours you got, it seems to me like there's plenty of room in there for additions.
Absolutely, there is. There's enough for like a franchise, a feature film franchise. Yeah, there's a lot of footage that I can pull from, and still kind of go in whatever direction we want to go with the film. But you know, there's a lot of other documentaries that I'm starting to get some interest in.
And as you've done this, have you people now seeing this and saying, "Hey, that was done by Ben Scantlin. You know, he put that together." Does that kind of open doors, or does that start to do conversations on, you know, hey, you know, I'd like to collaborate with you on this or that, or I've got this project and something I think that could get some help from you. Does it kind of start that?
It really does. It's unbelievable how much activity comes from this, and you never know where it's going to come from. And what's cool is we'll put this out on social media and say, hey, we're screening at this festival, and you don't realize how many people may be looking at that, especially in the industry, in the entertainment industry. And I've had people reach out to me that I haven't talked to in years that have said, this thing looks amazing. I'd love to sit down and talk to you about a project that I'm working on, or I would love to get you involved in this thing. So it's really started generating a lot of conversations. And I love that it's starting from a film about liberal Kansas, and I'm starting to get these really amazing opportunities. And it's really fun because people will reach out and go, maybe there's this, we can do this, we can do that. And that's what you dream for as a filmmaker, is where you have opportunities coming to you and say, maybe we can do this and that. And after doing it for many years, I really feel like it's finally picking up speed and getting to that point that you kind of really have been hoping for.
Oh, I tell you what, I love, you know, you can watch something like the Blair Witch Project, something like that, where they did it all with handheld and stuff like that. This looks so much better produced to me. And you know, you put the subject matter aside. If you just turn the sound off, just watch the videography, you know, and how it was put together. It's very well done. And that you're telling this story, you know, these trying to set these records.
Yes.
And then, you know, it's not just, well, 75 years ago we started. It's not that kind of documentary.
Right.
It's a living, breathing. We're doing it right now.
We're
in the heat of it.
Story, yeah.
We're getting ready for this thing, and here we are trying to break some world records, and you got Frank in there.
Oh, so good.
You know,
Frank's the best.
You couldn't have made put Pancake Day in a better position than what you put together.
Well, thank you, Earl. That means a lot, and I appreciate that, because it was not easy to weave all of that in within a 20-minute story, tell all of the history, tell all of these amazing stories, plus have a character that you're watching through it, right? It needs to drive the story. You have to have it hang on somebody. And when Frank Hampton showed up and he told me he was going to try to break not one, but 2 world records, I said, let's mic this guy up and get a camera on him the whole time, because I think we got something with us. And sure enough, he delivered beyond expectations. And I couldn't thank him enough for just being an open book and allowing us to have access to everything and his emotions. And for those that haven't seen it, he has this incredible journey throughout the film that really has you rooting for him by the end. And every crowd that's watched it has literally been cheering for him by the end of the film, which you never know is going to work when you're editing and you're sitting in front of this computer for 12 months. You're like, is any of this even going to make sense to people? And when it does, it's a great feeling. And the fact that Frank did what he did just is amazing.
And one of the records he was shooting for was the highest flip
That's right.
And Jim and I were in there broadcasting the morning. You know, the breakfast is one of the big deals to start the day.
Yes. Yeah.
And I think for the film, it was best. It didn't happen on the first try.
No.
It was best that it took him a few
To
to
he
get
didn't know
up.
if he was going to get it. Really
Yeah.
didn't. He was upset. He was stretching out. He was having to get warmed up. He's like, I don't know if I can do this.
Yeah, no, before it all started, he was jogging back and forth across the end of the building there, you know. And
Exactly.
well, that's interesting to see that, you know.
Yeah. He was getting warmed up.
Yeah.
Well, he'd been training for it for 2 years.
Yeah, in his backyard.
Yeah, in his backyard. He set up a scale version in his backyard, and luckily he had filmed some of that footage. So when I'm editing, I'm like, Frank, is there any way you happen to have some like home footage? He's like, boy, do I. And he sent me all of this. I'm like, this is just so rich and so good. So you're able to get that incorporated into it as well, and it just tied it together.
His hug of his wife when he finally got it up
greatest.
over the top. I mean, you know, think about it. How many times you can have a chance to make a Guinness World Record, and this guy was shooting for that, and then you get it over that bar, and it was up there.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
32 feet 6 inches, I do believe, was the record.
When they took that, lift up there and dropped the tape measure and everything, and it's like, Jim, we wouldn't have the activity center if Jim wasn't on the county commission that made that happen. I was thinking, how tall did you make this building? Is it even tall enough?
I was kind of thinking it wasn't tall enough at the time.
It was just enough. Yeah, thank you.
It was
Thank you for
just
putting that
barely.
together.
And so, we appreciate that you came back home for Thanksgiving and
Appreciate
telling
being
our
here.
story, taking it around the world, taking it to Korea.
Which is just
What else do you want to share? I want to give you every opportunity. What else happened in Korea that was?
Well, I've always wanted to go to Korea. It's like one of those dream cities, and I've just seen so many cool photos, and would have never thought that a film about liberal Kansas, about Pancake Day, would bring me there. And the people were so generous and so kind. And when Jessica, my wife, and I showed up there, they rolled out the red carpet for us. Because we were filmmakers, and they were fascinated with liberal and the Pancake Day and the whole thing, and they brought us over because it was in a little beach community that was about 2 hours outside of Seoul. So we got to see the countryside of Korea, like through the mountains, and we arrive, and it's this beautiful oceanside community. It was rainy when we arrived, and it was an incredible experience from start to end, but they had a big red carpet for us. We had to go up on stage. There was press there that was shouting out questions to us that I couldn't understand, but I just kept smiling and being like, go liberal. And we had a blast, and we were just eating food and watching good movies, and had an opportunity to extend it a few days while we were there and take in the city and see some of the culture and just eat our way through Korea, and it was fantastic. I highly recommend it to anybody that was on the fence about going to Korea. Go. It's beautiful. The people are amazing, and they love films about pancakes. So throw out that you're from liberal. They'll be extremely gracious, and it was really a trip of a lifetime. And I'm just so happy that we were able to pull it off, and that Pancake Day was the reason that brought me halfway around the world.
So Pancake Day is going to be, I think I looked it up, it's going to be mid to late February.
That's right.
This coming year.
Yes.
And so if you didn't get a chance to watch it, you want to plan to get down to Southgate 6 and take in flipping pancakes. And believe me, if you have any connection to liberal, it's going to touch your soul in a special way. It's just, I'm so proud of it. So proud that Ben has done this for us and taken our story across the world. And I can't wait to see if we get some Koreans here for
I hope so.
Pancake Day. We'll interview them as best I can.
I'll send them over. Yeah. Yeah, they're like, is it easy to get to Liberal, Kansas from Korea? And I'm like, not so much. It's about 5 flights later you'll be into Liberal, but it's well worth it. Come on out.
Oh,
Yeah.
and the one thing about especially Pancake Day, but I think Liberal's known for a little bit, is hospitality. We don't know a
Absolutely.
stranger.
No,
You come to
so
town
true.
and we immediately start to engage, and hey, how are you? Where are you from? And get them linked in. So
Really.
they will get the red carpet treatment.
I appreciate that, and I'll be out here supporting it as well, and we'll just continue to tell this amazing story to as many people as we possibly can. And I can't thank the community enough, again, for opening their arms and giving us access to everything, and all the people that came out with great stories, and the Pancake Board and how supportive they are. And I just thank you guys for all the support, and I hope to be able to continue to make movies. I want to continue to make movies about Southwest Kansas. I think it's an underserved beautiful landscape that people don't understand. I mean, even the sunset coming in last night or going home last night was just gorgeous. And it's not enough on camera. So I hope to be able to bring more films back here and show this amazing community.
Well, I get to buy the first T-shirt, and you're going to sign it.
I'm giving it to you.
You're going to sign it,
Yes.
and I'll put that in a frame right next to my poster. I'll put them in the same frame.
Let's do it.
And have that. So,
That's a deal.
Ben, we really appreciate you coming in.
Thank you, guys.
And we hope
Thank
you
you so
enjoyed
much.
Thanksgiving with your family.
Likewise, I
coming back
wish
home
everybody a very happy Thanksgiving. Yeah.
and doing that. So Ben Scantlin, he is a filmmaker, and he put together Flipping Pancake Day, took it across the globe, went to South Korea, showed it there, and has showed it in California and in the Chinese theater in LA, which I believe Snow White debuted there.
That's exactly right.
So, I mean, you're up there with
Wizard
that.
of Oz.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Come on.
I mean, you can't tie it back any tighter than that. So
You
it was
don't get any
amazing.
bigger
Full
than
circle.
that. Yeah.
Yeah.
So thank you so much for what you've
course.
done
Thank
for
you,
us
guys.
in our community. And you know what? We've got some more news and views we're going to bring to you, and we're going to do that right after this.
Thank you, guys.
Our loved ones leave an impression on us, and it's important to make sure their lasting impression honors the life they led. Since 1956, the Jones family has been providing lasting legacies to the lives of our loved ones, and that torch has now been passed to the Creekmore family. The commitment to compassion continues by offering the largest inventory in stock in the region with in-house custom craftsmanship that makes sure each piece is as unique as the life it represents. With a combined 82 years of experience and professional designers on staff, Jones Monument continues to provide affordable pricing and convenient turnaround times. They are ready to serve you from 9:30 to 5 Monday through Friday and 9:30 to noon on Saturday. Yes, our loved ones may have passed, but the memorial left behind stands as a testament to our never-ending love. The staff at Jones Monument understands that, and that's why providing monuments is more than a sideline at Jones Monument. That's all they do. Visit Jones Monument when you're ready to make an impression beyond a lifetime.
Fall off the bone ribs, dripping with our signature barbecue sauce. Tender pulled pork and brisket smoked to perfection. All served with family recipe home-style sides. It's all waiting for you at the Brick House Barbecue and Brew. Open 7 days a week, your barbecue appetite can be satisfied anytime for lunch or dinner. Brick House serves full dinners, combos, sandwiches, and take-home packs. Enjoy a variety of brews on tap or a mixed drink. Shaken, not stirred. Give your taste buds a treat at Brick House Barbecue and Brew, 24 East 2nd Street in Liberal. Like us on Facebook and see our full menu at brickhouselk.com.
Well, that poster goes in the vault. That's one that's going to have a special place. It's going to be protected. That's a neat piece.
Pretty neat.
Ben did me up right to do something like that, and I'm
Yep.
going to have to take care of that thing. And I'm serious. I'll get one of those shirts if he makes a shirt with that logo on there and Flippin' Pancake Day, the movie. I mean, that's the whole thing about a movie is the material.
Yep, that's right.
You know.
Well, I mean, that's the way with a lot of that stuff, Any of that. It's got, you can buy ball caps, coffee cups, T-shirts, anything.
Hey, I grew up with Star Wars. Me and my brother, we had all the action figures, the spaceships.
Yeah.
We had it all.
Yeah.
We replayed that movie 100 times growing up.
Yeah.
And
Yep. Neat stuff.
lunch boxes, everything.
Well, and the fun part of that is the local guy that did that, and took it worldwide. So
We went to, in 22, we went to Disney World and for Christmas, and one thing we do is we draw each other's names and get something from there as a Christmas present. And so we have something to open on Christmas morning since we're there for it. But I got Rustin, my son, and I found a shirt because Disney owns Star Wars now, and it had it was Star Wars, but it had the 80s little dolls was across this shirt right there. It was
Oh,
a really
yeah.
cool looking
Yeah.
deal. And so I got him that, and I saw him wearing it just the other day. So he still
He's still wearing
still
it.
wears it.
There you go.
You know, but
Yep.
yeah. Would you wear a shirt with something like that on it?
Oh, I might do that. You know, I've got one or two that's got some stuff on it, you know, that every once in a while I come across in the pile. But yeah, that'd be kind of fun.
Yeah, I need to tell him, you get a black shirt and you
Yeah.
put that on there, that'll look awesome.
Yep. Yep. Just like that poster.
Yeah, yeah. I'm looking forward to that. Well, that just gets you feeling all warm and fuzzy about Liberal, doesn't it?
There you go. Yeah, makes you wonder what next. And that's the guy that can do it.
Yeah. I can't
You
wait
know.
to see what he does next. I'll watch
Yeah.
it. Ben
Yeah.
put something together, I'm watching it.
Yeah. Well, that Imagination 9, you know, I think that's kind of intriguing just to, you know, I don't know where that came up.
I should have asked him,
You
where did
know,
he come up
but-
with the 9? What's
Yeah.
a 9 represent?
I don't have any idea. Maybe that was a 9 ball in the pool hall. I don't
I
know,
know.
but
Well, the other thing
Before
was
the-
kind of like a light bulb, so I like
yeah,
that.
yeah. Well, you know, he was talking before the show. He was talking about, you know, he remembered going into different people's houses and when he's working for his folks on Scantlin Furniture, and then, you know, taking furniture, delivering furniture here and there. So anyway, so he's well connected.
Yeah, he said as soon as he got his permit, driver's permit, he started delivering
Yep,
furniture.
yep, yep.
So,
There you go.
you know, it's, I guess, you know, whatever your family trade is.
That's
what you're
right.
gonna- that's
Yeah,
what you're
well,
gonna
he
do.
probably didn't have any choice, you know.
Well,
Looking for a driver, and there he was.
but the beautiful thing about that, I think, is the work ethic. It's designed out here,
Sure.
and he took it with him to Hollywood. And I
Yep.
think that's why he made it,
Yeah.
because you learn to work out here on the high
Yep.
plains.
Yep. You don't think anything about it. You just learn that that's what you got to do to survive. And you know, he turned it into something that I doubt that he probably dreamed that when he was delivering furniture. I don't know.
Yeah. Well, I got to see him when he was a little kid because I got to coach him and his cousin
Yeah.
Chad, and great kids, and that was a fun summer. And
Yep.
you know, I'm not surprised that you know, Ben has been able to go on and have the success he's had.
Yeah. Well, you know, I mean, it was his choice, and he got to, you know, made the right connections, and ended up going to Korea of all things. Who would have thought that?
Yeah. And it was a combo food culture,
Yeah.
you know, and how much more can you tie food and
Well,
culture
that's-
together than a pancake
That's
race?
it. That's it. You know, food and culture. You know, that pretty much, that'd be hard to resist on a deal like that if somebody presented you with, you know, something like this.
Now, Ben's definitely a little more outgoing than I am. If I looked at a pancake and had meat in it, I don't know. I'd kind of,
Yeah, I was going to ask him if they use syrup. I don't know.
different things across the world that do it differently. And so he had his
Yep.
pancakes in Korea.
I'm not sure where to go with that. Maybe nothing. You just eat it and away you go. I don't know.
I'm going to have to look at that around the world different because
Yeah.
the concept of a pancake is something global.
Yeah.
Now, what's in it may be different, but
Yeah.
thinking about putting some dough in a pan and then whatever else you might add with that, that seems to be a worldwide
Yep.
deal.
I don't know. Never thought about that.
Now, pancakes are flour, right?
Yeah.
So that's wheat.
Yep.
So that's another great connection to Kansas. Is pancakes are going to be something
Yeah.
from the wheat state.
Yep.
And now it's always good to talk to Ben. I'm glad he was able to come in and here on our holiday edition. Since we won't be here tomorrow, you'll be preparing to eat your turkey or ham or whatever.
Making yourself miserable.
Yeah.
Getting ready to watch a football game, all that kind of stuff.
I was talking with a lady here that they go out of town, not too far from here, and there's a restaurant that's open on Thanksgiving. You have to make reservations, but they always go and eat there.
I think the Grand Buffet lady out there told me the other day that they was going to be open for Thanksgiving.
Really?
So I don't know who else, but that particular one was. So So anyway, I guess we'll see.
I don't think Brahms will be.
I kind of got an idea they might be close.
What are you going to do?
I don't know. I mean, just sit around and look at each other, I guess. I don't
Watch
know.
football?
Well, yeah, you always got to watch football. I remember we used to go, years ago, we used to go to Dallas and watch the Cowboys. And I haven't done that lately. But I guess we'll get to see them tomorrow on TV. But anyway, I don't know. It's always interesting to see what takes place. I don't plan too far ahead because there ain't no need in that. I might not be here tomorrow.
Yeah.
Anyway, who knows?
When you get a certain age, you just stop
That's
planning
right. You
altogether.
just don't plan very far ahead. Kind of like my granddad told I forgot what magazine salesman that was. That guy was trying to sell him 5-year subscription, and he said, "Nope, don't want it, don't need it." So, well, how come? Well, I might not be here. I don't want to spend my money for something that I'm not going to get the good out of. So, anyway.
Well, it is Thanksgiving, and there's a new movement. Of course, nothing, probably won't sound like a surprise here. The University of California, Davis, the History Social Science Project, wants to do away with the decolonizing Thanksgiving in the classroom. No more teaching Thanksgiving.
Yeah.
We're going to decolonize.
Yeah. Well, I don't know. I think those folks just need to pack their suitcase and go somewhere where there's this kind of lifestyle there and live there for a while, and then,
Well, my question is, if you follow through with what they're talking about, humanity wouldn't have left the Fertile Crescent. We'd be trying to, squeeze, a few billion people into a few square miles, because heaven forbid we go outside of that to, touch nature. Colonization is the history of humanity. The Egyptians colonized eventually there. The Europeans colonized there. The people that we falsely call Native Americans weren't native at all. They came across the Bering Strait from Asia and came over from there. Others sailed across when they finally made it across and landed on the coast, the East Coast. There's some proof that some of the people in South America first sailed across. So this idea that you can decolonize Thanksgiving in the classroom, in other words, you don't want to show that these Puritans came over, they suffered through, and what did they do? They gave thanks.
Yeah.
Boy, we don't want to teach something like that, do we?
No, that seems to be it's anti-American, I think, really is what it is. But that's for folks that don't really realize what they have compared to what they'll have if government issues it. And I don't know, it's just strange thinking, but again, it has a lot to do with our education system that has taken place in the last 50 years or so. Education today is completely different than it was when I started school, about, 70 years ago, 75. It's completely different. And the subjects that are taught are completely different. Yeah, there's more of them, but a lot of those, like your history and math and that kind of thing, the emphasis is not on those anymore, or don't seem to be. And, as a result, we're seeing what we're seeing now. And it's a shame that we've not been involved and not paid attention, to what's going on, but thinking that government will take care of us. That's not necessarily true. It'll take care of you all right, but maybe not in the way you were thinking. I think we're getting ready to see that in New York with the new mayor elect. I think folks are going to be rather surprised when things start happening there, that they were already talking about these government grocery stores and he's going to put in, and how empty shelves, how there's going to be empty shelves. Well, we've seen a little dab of that, from time to time here, and not a good thing. So, no, we got a long ways to go, but tomorrow's the day that we offer thanks for what we've gotten, and we ought to be mighty thankful for that, because you look around the world and other folks are not as fortunate.
Well, I also think it's important, as they want to now call Thanksgiving the National Day of Mourning. It's like these people just live in misery.
Yeah, they want to, and they want everybody to.
Yeah, and if they want to do that, it's free country. They're allowed to do that. I tell you what I'm going to do. I'm going to eat some Thanksgiving turkey and ham, and I'm going to be thankful for the life that we have.
Yeah.
I'm going to be thankful for the family I have. I'm going to be thankful for the community I have. This is a time to be thankful. It's a time to look at one another with thanksgiving in our hearts, to be thankful for what we have.
Yep.
And these people just continue to just want to bring misery to everything, as if they can rewrite history. Now, if you want to, I think Thanksgiving has done more to teach about Native Americans than a lot of things. Because when you go back and look at it, and it's historically accurate, that was where the natives, the Wampanoag tribe, and the settlers came together and worked together for a long, long time, and made deals and coexisted. But to think that the Wampanoag was just living in harmony with the land, they had wars with other tribes before we ever got here, and continued even after the Europeans got here as well. And just like everything, any resource or anything, everyone likes to talk about, like as if there's never been a battle or wars fought among Native Americans or anything like that. Of course it happened. There were European wars, there are African wars, there's Asian wars. You name the continent, there was a war on it.
Everybody's had their war.
Yeah. And to think that somehow the North American continent was free of that, you just don't know history. They battled each other for resources, land, people, slaves. They had all of that. They had all of that without even knowing what was going on in Europe. They didn't have any clue of that, and yet they still lived just the same as the rest of the world did. However, their time period reflected. So, you can pretend, those things didn't happen and try to create some false history, and saying Thanksgiving is false history, it's glorifying colonialism. We were colonists. We colonized. That's the way the world moves. You think China didn't colonize? You think, do you think the Native Americans weren't colonizing when they crossed the Bering Strait to find new lands, new hunting grounds, come on over? But just as anything is around the world, if you want it, you have to fight to hold on to it. Reagan has always said, freedom is only one generation away from being lost if you don't fight for it.
Yep.
New York might be losing it on their own. We'll see how that goes. But, if you want to go and not celebrate, no one says you have to. But I'll celebrate it until they put me in a box, I guess.
There you go. Yep. Well, they love changing names, and all of that, anything to do with civilization, or they have to change the name, Columbus Day and Indigenous People Day, and those kind of things. So, I'm not too surprised. There's always that negative group out there that, it doesn't make any difference what the subject is or what the issue is. There's always negativity, and there's folks, I guess, you have a right to do that, as long as you're under, people versus the government independent state. But once you're not, and you go back to the days of the king, then you expect only what you get from the king.
Yeah, and they're talking about Albuquerque Public Schools. Sent a note home that many Native people do not celebrate Thanksgiving because it's a reminder of the genocide of millions of Native people, the appropriation of Native lands, and the erasure of indigenous cultures. The school referred to Thanksgiving as a time of mourning for some.
Well, go ahead and mourn then. The rest of us are going to celebrate.
Yeah, I mean, no one looks back and, oh, we're celebrating the massacre or that. And let me tell you something. That happened on both sides, by the way. There are plenty of examples where American settlers were massacred, moving to a new spot, a spot that they had a legal right to have, but the Native Americans who made the deal reneged on it. They didn't follow through with all of the things that were matched in treaties. They violated that stuff. And so atrocities on both sides, that's history. You show me history where one side is pure as a driven snow, and I'll show you some fake history.
Yeah, that's very true.
Any side in anything has people that do things inappropriately. But this is the United States of America. I'm glad we still celebrate the hardships that those settlers went through. And even through that, they gave thanks. And when times got better and they had good bounty, they gave thanks. And that's a lesson for all of us in life. There's going to be highs and there's going to be lows. Give thanks.
Yep.
Be thankful for whatever you have. I think that's a good thing. George Washington urged Americans, set aside a day, give thanks. Who was the first Thanksgiving in this country, by the way, or this part of the world? Coronado. Way before the Pilgrims did it, and not far from here. And it was a religious day. And he was, I guess he was European, but he was a Spaniard. But he came through here and was looking for the 7 cities of gold and gave thanks. They had, I think, 3 days of prayer and reflection in the middle of, back then, what would have been nowhere, not anything, but some native tribes here and there, and they documented all of that. But they gave thanks. And that's a reminder of what this day is. It's to give thanks, to be thankful, to humble yourself, and not, well, I deserve this and I deserve that.
Yep.
Or the world should be like this. You know what? We all believe the world should be a little bit different. Give thanks anyway.
Yeah.
Give thanks
Yeah.
anyway. Be glad of what we do have. I think that's, and again, this is just part of that just depressed culture. Just,
Yeah.
I'm going to complain about this. I'm going to complain
Yep.
about that. I like to say, well, what kind of world do they want?
Yeah.
What kind of world would they live in?
Well, I was reading some stuff this morning, and it was kind of the same thing. Well, we don't like this, but I can't remember what the story was about. But anyway, it was, well, that's just wrong. It's just wrong and all. But what was their solution? Well, we don't really have a solution. I think it was something that was going on in Illinois, I believe it was, where the governor and the mayor of Chicago, they were, I don't remember what the subject was, but anyway, I kept reading through there. Well, what's your solution if you don't like what's going on? What's your solution? But they never came up with a solution. It just needed to be changed, but there's no idea of what to do after that, and so they've got what they've got. But offer a solution if something's wrong. You don't like it, show them a better way. But be thankful for what you got. My gosh, you talk about changes. We were sitting in Brahms the other night, and we were talking. Of course, there's you know, a pretty good crowd of older folks. But you think about even back when the wagon trains were going across, you know, not too far from here, down Santa Fe Trail, you know, just north of us here a little ways. You know, and how far we've came in a few years, you know, from, you think of what those folks, you know, bumping down an old muddy 2-track trail, you know, or maybe dry and the wind blowing and all of that. But you think that, and now then you complain because, you know, it takes you an extra 30 minutes to get to, you know, get somewhere, you know, or, you know, you can be from here to Kansas City in 7 hours, you know. It takes 7 days in a wagon train, but, you know, so many changes, you know. I mean, you talk about, well, we often talk about, you know, when the tractors went to Washington, D.C., you know, and that was in 1979. This little thing right here wasn't even invented yet. You know, I mean, the only time that we could communicate was in the evenings when you get to the hotel room and you could call home and say, well, you know, we finally made it to St. Louis or whatever, you know, wherever you were, you know. But you know, so you think about all of the things that we have accomplished in a few short years, really, in my lifetime. You know, I remember living in a house that didn't have electricity. You know, I had an old wind charger out there, but if the wind didn't blow, it didn't charge the batteries, and then you didn't have that little light that put out about as much light as a candle. You know, I remember when we got the first telephone, you know, and of course they had to put in the poles and install the lines and all of that kind of stuff, and that's back in the day when you had 4 numbers, you know, 4 telephone numbers. And our particular one is 3140, and it's still that way today, only it's got several numbers ahead of it. But, you know, I remember, you know, a lot of that stuff. I remember the first TV, you know, it didn't have TV to start with. And then when you got it and you put the antenna outside and you could see some kind of little fuzzy, oh, looky there, I think that's, you know, that's a guy walking down the street or whatever it was. You know, you had to use a lot of, talk about imagination 9, maybe that's where Ben got his idea. He had to imagine a lot of things in his younger days, and he made it come true. But anyway, you know, so many things to be thankful for, and you know, what we have today. And I don't know how you can't be thankful for that if you're looking just in your lifetime, you know.
Well, my question to some of these people is, when are we supposed to celebrate America? When are we supposed to celebrate? You know, they fuss about Columbus Day. They fuss about Thanksgiving Day. They fuss about the 4th of July.
Yeah.
We're never supposed to celebrate the country that's brought more freedom than any other in history, the country that has brought more people out of poverty than any other country in history, the country that has developed more innovations that have advanced humanity further than any other culture in history. We're never supposed to celebrate any of that. We're never supposed to celebrate curing some of these diseases and all of the innovation that America has done to solve suffering, and all of the money that's donated from Americans around the globe to fight poverty, to fight unclean water, to fight polio, to fight starvation. Americans give more than anyone else to fight for these causes. They send out, the churches across this country send missionaries across the world to help people in need. But we're not supposed to celebrate any of that. You know, you tell me the day then. You tell me the day that we're supposed to celebrate this country. When are we supposed to celebrate the advancements and the promise and the freedom that this country has? You guys are just never happy. There's just nothing that you can do to make you feel good. It's just always
negative.
Yeah. And it's always America's fault. What's going on in the world's America's fault. Ask the Jews who were on the verge of extermination. if it wasn't for the American soldiers to go over and liberate Europe. Britain would probably be flying the swastika today if we didn't go over and help make sure and open a second front on the beaches of Normandy and liberate France and Northern Africa. You know, the Germans were in Ethiopia too. We had to liberate that.
Well, look at what we're trying to do today now. I mean, we're trying to solve the war between Ukraine and Russia, you know, and making a little headway.
We went to Asia
Yeah.
and had to stop the Japanese aggression going in throughout the Pacific Rim and onto the main continent over there, and the atrocities that happened. So don't tell me about these evil settlers in America. These people in America have done a lot for the entire world, more than they'll ever get back.
Yep.
You know, when a mudslide happens, who's the first ones there to help? When a tsunami hits, who's the first ones there with aid? America. So, you know, if you don't want to celebrate that, you're just using it because you just want to be miserable. You know, if you want to make America better, then jump in. Let's go. Let's work on it. Let's make it a better place. But to sit there and constantly complain and bicker and fuss, you know, that just doesn't make any sense at all. And I'm just not going to have that defeatist mentality. I think that...
Well, there's no reason to. You know, I mean, there's really no reason to. You know, there's so many things that you can do, and you know, I mean, well, I was thinking another couple of things that, you know, has happened. You know, we put a man on the moon. Not only put him on the moon, but he literally walked on the moon. You know, I mean, that's a real accomplishment, and you know, look at all of the changes that's been made since that flight. Now then, they're talking about going to Mars, which no doubt one of these days they're going to do that. I don't know who those brave souls are that's going to do that, but you know, there's possibility, you know, within another 10 years that certainly might happen. You know, I mean, there's just so many things that have happened as a result of this country being free and, you know, able to provide for others that, had we not been here, probably wouldn't have been possible. But anyway, so there's a lot of things out there that, if you think back, like I said a minute ago, in your lifetime, all the changes that's been made, and the things that's been accomplished, and you know, all of that. Why, you know, I'm surely not disappointed.
No, and I don't think we should be. I mean, history is what it is. And I think even Bill Maher said, either give it back or sit down and be quiet. And if you think going back to living native lifestyle is a good thing, well, you're free to do it. No one says you have to live in a house.
No.
No one says you can't go out and buy a plot of land and put up a little hut and try to live off of that. You can do that, but don't expect me to do it. This is the world we live in. I've seen some people talk about, you know, self-identification. You can self-identify however you want to, but that doesn't mean I have to identify you that way. Your freedom ends with you. It doesn't begin with me. You can't make me live in your fantasy land. You know, if you don't like this, if you don't like America, no one says you have to stay.
That's right. That's right.
And if you want to change it, feel free to try. But this stuff of trying to get into the schools and tell kids that this is a day of atrocity and all of that, you know, no. The parents have to stand up to that. And just like what we're seeing here, the public taking back their government, people need to take back their school districts.
Yeah.
And say, you know what, we've had it with this stuff. And let's get back to, how about we focus on math and science? How about we focus on that? instead of worrying about a day of mourning, you know, kids are like, really? I thought we just ate pumpkin pie and
I used to have
turkey.
those days of morning, about 8 o'clock in the morning it'd start until about 9, thinking I had to go to school. But about 9, then I was all better. So, you know, but anyway, no, it's, you know, it's just completely different. And the school system, you know, is yeah, they've expanded a lot in different subjects and things that are helpful and beneficial. But you know, you have to get back to the basics, and the basics have kind of been forgotten. You know, kind of like courtesy and civility and those kind of things. You know, that the days of it's my way or the highway are you know, out of step with the rest of the country. But there's still those that are out there trying to promote it, trying to force you to, you know, believe this way or that way. And you know, that's where the independence comes in. So, you know, but we've got a lot of things that we need to be thankful for, not only tomorrow, but every cotton picking day. I mean, gosh, you know, just look at the things that are available to us today that haven't been, you know, always been there.
Yeah. Well, so that's kind of thinking that's getting people released from prison with long rap sheets that go out and stab people. It's that kind of thinking that America is doing everything wrong that is leading to more people on welfare. And, you know, we wouldn't even be talking about Obamacare and all that stuff if we just had a society that didn't feel like government had to solve your problems.
Mm-hmm.
It felt like you were in control of your own life.
Yep.
And that's where we've got to get this thing. We've got to get it back to putting the people back in charge, letting the people run things. And
well, you need to be responsible. You know, you don't need to leave your responsibility to somebody else, because there's a good possibility you're not going to like that, and it's going to be limited. You know, somebody else, you expect somebody else to support you, they're only going to support you to the amount that they want to. You know, where if you take it upon yourself to accomplish something, you don't have to really depend on anybody else.
yeah,
You know,
count on yourself and realize you can make it on your own.
yeah.
Bill Hatcher says that Ben, the number 9 was Ben's number on his football team. So Imagination 9.
Well, you should have remembered that, maybe.
Well, I coached him in baseball.
Oh, okay.
I don't even think we had numbers. We were,
Well, look at where that imagination led him.
yeah,
You know.
yeah.
Okay.
And Todd Stanton says, celebrate your freedoms as an American every day. He said, and remember, those are God-given freedoms, not freedoms conferred by a government. That's right.
Yep.
That's right. You were born with them. You're endowed by your Creator with unalienable rights. And it was disappointing the other day to see the senator from Virginia talk about that the rights given by the government. That's absolutely 100% false. Matter of fact, you can look back at the Founding Fathers. I got a link on my own Facebook page. But the Constitution doesn't limit the people. The Constitution limits the government. The limitations are on government. You know, you're a free person. You know, think about some of these countries. I remember a few years ago, a girl down in Aruba, remember she got murdered.
Yep.
And the way their legal system worked, totally different than ours. You know, here, you're innocent until the state can prove you did something. In some countries, if the state accused you of something, you have to prove you're innocent. Well, that's not how we do it.
Yep.
You know, this country has a lot of good things going for it. And does that mean sometimes a bad guy gets out? Yeah, it does. But I'd rather have a bad guy get off than an innocent person persecuted. That, you know, that shouldn't happen. And I don't have to look to what the government says I can do. You know, what we say is what the government's limited to do. Then all together, we decide what we're going to limit ourselves, like a stop sign or a stoplight. Yeah, we'd have chaos at every corner if we didn't have some rules and regs, but we all agree to those rules together. And that's how we create a society where we can move forward. But when the government's trying to overstep its bounds, we have the right and the duty, according to the Declaration, to change that. As right of the people to change or abolish it and establish new forms of government. So the country's not based on the Constitution. The government's based on the Constitution. The country is based on the Declaration. That's what created the United States of America, the Declaration of Independence. When we said we're not part of England anymore, that we are separate and absolved from all allegiance to the crown, that's what made us the United States of America, these United States of America at the time. Were we going to be one nation together? They still had to figure that out. But one thing we knew back then, we're not part of anybody else. We're our own deal. And we'll figure it out on our own. And we decided to come together and stay together and form the United States of America. But the government, that can change. And the Constitution has served us well, and I hope it continues to serve us well for a long, long time. The reason is it can change. We can modify it, and we have 28 times. Yeah. We've amended that thing. And you can, matter of fact, you might have your questions on what some of the citizenship questions are.
I think, one of them I remember, I think I took that sheet home. I left the wrong one here. but anyway, one of them was, let's see, what was that? What month do you elect the president? I think we covered that one.
Yeah, we did that.
I think there was another one or two about what's the capital of your state, which everybody should know. If they don't, well, there's something wrong. Gosh, I don't remember some of the others, but anyway, those are, I think they're important and they're worth reviewing, because there's some of them that I hadn't heard in so long that, how many colonies were there originally? I don't remember some of those, but there's 100 of them if you go check them out and do a little review. You might be surprised at some of your answers versus some of what the real answer is.
Well, and we think about the settlers who settled in Plymouth Bay Colony, but I think about the settlers who settled right here. Seymour Rogers and all those people that came out here. They didn't have the modern amenities we have, and they made houses out of mud. And he dug a hole and found a well and gave the water away.
They had to have that well to make that mud because it never rained that much.
I wish that we had a picture of any of that.
Yeah.
But think about the people who came out here on this barren land, and look what they did to it. They turned it into a breadbasket for the world.
Yeah.
Growing the food supply that feeds millions, maybe billions.
Yep.
And you're going to look at those people and say that they're evil in some way, shape, or form. They came out and worked their tails off. And then the railroad comes through and makes a connection right here. Liberal becomes a county seat. And National Beef comes and provides jobs. And look at what that, we trained pilots to fight freedom's biggest battle, World War II, to fight off fascism, to fight off, people who were looking to take over lands and push their way of life on it. And let me tell you something, they were winning. You got to fight back. You got to be able to win wars. If you want to defend your culture, you have to be able to win wars.
Yep.
So what's your next question?
Well, here's one right here. We just talked about this a minute ago. The idea of self-government is in the first 3 words of the Constitution. What are those words?
Yeah, if you know those, go ahead and send them on over. But I love the Constitution. I do. But it is second to the Declaration. The Declaration tells us that we find these truths to be self-evident.
Yep.
That all men are created equal, that they're endowed by their Creator think about that. All men are created equal. And we lived in a society of slaves. But yet we said all men are created equal. We had to live up to that. And we had to finally end that terrible institution. But we had to first realize that all men are created equal. And then you're like, well, then how come we don't treat everybody equally? And we had to fix that. That they're endowed by their Creator with certain unalienable rights, that among these are life, liberty, and pursuit of happiness. We all know that. But the next part, I think, is the most important. That to secure these rights, governments are instituted among men, deriving their just powers from the consent of the governed. That whenever government becomes destructive of these ends, it's the right of the people to change or abolish those forms of government and to create those that will bring to them such happiness. That's what we forget, the second part of that. Yes, we have born with rights, but to secure them, governments, what's the role of the government? To protect your God-given rights. That's it. We try to make government a whole bunch of stuff that we are not. I think Donovan's got the answer there. We'll see who else throws the answer up there.
You can cheat. You can look at Donovan's answer.
But the only purpose of government is to secure and protect your God-given rights. And whenever it becomes destructive of that, it's your right, it's your duty to change or abolish it.
Well, I think we're seeing a little bit of that here on the local level when you get right down to it.
Yeah.
People have got involved. Not too many, but there's certainly, seems to me to be a lot of support for what these few individuals are doing, and looking into different aspects of what's going on and how they can make a change. So, I think that carries true today, right here and right now.
Well, one thing they talk about in the Declaration is that people will just mostly take it.
Yeah, but there comes a point when you don't take it.
Right. And they got to that.
Yep.
And that's, I think, even here. But I think, there might be a few people trying to help bring about change, but it's widely supported. When you had 97% of an unofficial survey, 97 to 3 say, revisit this.
Yeah. Yep.
You need
Answer to that question, in case you didn't know. The idea of self-government is in the first 3 words of the Constitution. What are those words? It's we the people. And that about says it all right there. We the people.
We the people. In order to form a more perfect union, establish justice, ensure domestic tranquility, provide for the common defense, promote the general welfare, and secure the blessings of liberty to ourselves and our posterity.
Many, many years ago, that was a requirement that you had to memorize that. Now that I don't know, I don't even know you have to read that anymore.
Yeah.
But yeah, many years ago you had to memorize that.
So let's take a look at your weather report. Today is going to be mostly sunny with a high near 50. West-southwest wind, 5 to 11 miles per hour, becoming south in the afternoon. Tonight, mostly clear with a low around 23. South-southeast wind, 5 to 8 miles per hour, becoming west-northwest after midnight. Thanksgiving Day is sunny with a high near 53. Thanksgiving evening is going to be partly cloudy with a low around 28. Looking ahead to the rest of your week, Friday, 58. Saturday, 42. Sunday, 31.
Oh.
Monday, 35. And Tuesday, 43. That's your weather outlook, and that's the news and views you can use on the high plains. Wednesday, November 26, 2025. We'll be back with you Monday. We're going to let you have an extended weekend here.
There you go.
We'll be back with you Monday. Until then, this is Earl with the Leader in Time to Jim Rice, saying when you live in liberal,
Or Fowler, Kansas.
there's no place like home. Have a great holiday, everybody.